I believe, with these dual Panthers, what they bring to the table. So let's go take a look.
Yeah, I'd certainly expect a range with the Panthers, but who knows? Maybe this is a brawl team with some Panthers providing some fire support.
Panther Overwatch.
Panther Overwatch.
Haha. All right, let's get that pep going, and let's hop in and take
You
a
know, if
look.
it was Lego Pirate on the other team, I would certainly expect it.
I'm going to go look at those Panthers right off the bat. Mongo the Misanthrope rolling 2 ERPPCs with the Panther. They actually put their Panthers one on either side of the map here. Probably going to take an immediate run out. 1 ERPPC and 1 PPC for Tolson. Goss on the Kodiaks for both of them. Both running that typical machine gun build to... Well, actually... Oh, ER medium lasers, 2 large pulse lasers, and the lower slung Goss for the Flying Gecko. So that's an actual... I haven't seen that build used all that much, but we'll see what they can do. So, very spread out strategy for 42. Stretched all the way from Epsilon to Kappa and leaving a hole right in the middle of Theta.
And those Sparkies are that Sparky is a 3 ER large Sparky. That's an interesting build for that mech.
KCom has done this kind of strategy before, going over to the junkyard, sending the Grasshopper up top for the initial trades. Compared to the Crow's drop, though, he's getting some return fire now. Not too much damage dealt by either side, but Unwary in that Grasshopper doing the same thing he did last time. I don't know if he's going to be able to get as effective of a trade.
Yeah, Unwary did a great job in their match that we casted previously, trading from there.
So he's taken some very careful peeks. They haven't opted to take Epsilon yet. They're actually sending their Jenner 2C in to do the job. But it all comes down to whether or not they're able to hit him, and I don't think they're going to be able to. There's a very short mech, no sight lines. Starwolf can basically just stand on the corner, get the cap on Epsilon. They are behind on caps, and it is going to be 2-2 with Theta uncontested in the middle. But I would say SmokeJays has a fair run at Theta pretty easily here. You can sit right on this corner and not really have anybody able to see you while you cap. So if they want to send in one of those Panthers to cap Theta, they could do so freely, and then it's really going to be on KCom to make the move. It already technically is, because they are down on tickets. So a lot of those PPCs coming in from those Panthers, and just...
They've got some Timberwolves with PPCs as well. There's a lot of PPCs on 42's team. Starting to see that the revival of the PPC a little bit. Just for kicks and giggles.
A little bit of a velocity buff there.
Yeah.
Unwary popping up, getting stuck on the rock there, taking an extra little bit of a shot before being able to drop down to 90%. Let's check the status of his mech. He's spread it all over the place, so he's still doing pretty good despite the bled off armor. So
Unwary is a good player. He should be able to do pretty well in this Grasshopper.
KCom realizing that it's going to be on them to make the movement. 42 can stay there forever if they so choose, so they have moved up into their secondary, more front positions, and they're just going to try their best to out-trade 42, and let's watch the percentages and see if they can do it. So far, damage in favor of 42. It's going to be a little bit of a long road drawing that back, but they've got the mechs to do it. They really do. These Grasshoppers can do some good work here. They just need to keep trading well.
Yeah, I love the Grasshopper on Canyon Network. I think it's a great map and a great mech for this map.
KCom has moved a Jenner up to Theta. He's not contesting it, though. It's very difficult to snag that cap with this much range. They can stop the cap with just a graze of their lasers. So it's going to be tough, but they are actually moving their Grasshoppers up towards Theta. They might be able to try and put some pressure down to be able to sneak the cap, but they're just getting a little bit closer. I think they want to get more into their optimal range, but of course that means they're going to get further into the optimal range of SmokeJays, and we're going to see damage tossing back and forth a lot quicker as they get closer together. Stu 101 in the Hunchback 2C, the most hurt out of all of them, and he is located.
And there's a Kodiak came up on the hill. Mortara Kel.
Oh man,
is getting pounded out in the open right now, and 42 has open shots on him. Just lost one of his torsos.
Oh no! Oh jeez, yeah, he's down to 39%, and he did drop down, but he's still taking hits from the Panther. Oh, and he gets
Tolson
it.
gets the kill.
Tolson takes an aggressive push around the corner and gets the killing blow on the Kodiak 3. That is a big win for 42. They took 100 tons off the field right there, and they got to be feeling pretty good about that. But they need to keep the pressure on. Shadowcat down to 52%. A lot of damage, though, on the KCom side, and they are starting to hemorrhage it quite a bit. We got two separate fights going on here. Jenner 2C fighting 1v1 against that Shadowcat in the corner here. He did have a little help from his Overwatch, so 62% for the Jenner 2C, but he lost touch with the target, and if he gets up there too aggressively, he's going to take a massive hit. Gauss just landing. You can hear that explosion as the Gauss hits. And last little farewell from the Timberwolf that has sent that 2C packing. So he took a lot of damage and was not able to seal the deal on the Shadowcat, and that one got away from him, unfortunately. Now, one thing to note, while this was happening, 42 has allowed KCom to get up there for the 4 cap, and that has switched the tickets in their favor. But KCom is very hurt now that 42 is going to have to make a move. And when they do, it's not going to take much for them to get a bigger kill advantage than what they have. The worst thing that I think 42 can do right now is stagnate and allow the 4 cap to go for much longer.
Yeah, they can't let the tickets get out of hand, but right now they don't necessarily have to make a move yet. They're getting some pokes from their the Sparky, and one of the Panthers off to the side was trying to get some angles on them. Did a decent job trading until KCom kind of posted up and forced them back. Looks like their main body is now rearranging, and that Sparky and Panther are moving back to Delta 3, where the main body used to be, to kind of maintain those angles.
42 did not panic, which is good, but they are not stagnating. They are making their move in a very systematic fashion, basically turning the right flank of KCom, and they're continuing to put down quite a bit of damage. KCom trying to put out whatever they can, wherever they can. Oh, Stu does not see the strike, and he's going to take a beating from that one. Tolson landing a shot on Tex and taking him out as well. That was actually, where was that located? Where did Tex go down?
You know, I did miss that. I'm spectating Unwary right now, who has
Tex
a wide
is the
open
Jenner 2C. He was the one that I believe was fighting with the Shadowcat earlier. Wow, he got really aggressive, went right up into the main body and died in their backfield. Ballsy move by him, but tickets are starting to get a little bit worrisome in my mind here. 42's got to start getting that sense of urgency, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening. They are on the move. They're going to be able to kill that. Oh, they got a bit of a pincer here. Prometheus coming up in the backside. These guys have no idea he's there. This is going to be brutal if he gets up over the top, but he doesn't know that they're actually bailing out over the side. 42 now controls Theta, and they're going to quickly turn that. The remainder of the KCom mechs bailing out, and if 42 gets over the top of them, that's going to be brutal, but they got to give chase. I do think they got to give chase. They got to clean up these last few mechs here, and it's time to start worrying about those caps. They
already are flipping Sigma as well. It looks like they're going to flip a couple of them now.
Good. I mean, that's what needs to be done in order to make it work there, but KCom is definitely bringing the pressure. Unwary, though, is going to have a hard fight here against Mongo. He needs to do... Oh, big overheat by Mongo. Can he capitalize on it? Just missed out on it. He was busy spreading out and twisting out and stuff like that, and unfortunately missed a perfect opportunity.
And Unwary doesn't have any armor to give against Mongo here. Yeah, that Panther is too fresh.
So we're starting to see KCom mechs bleed out, and...
Unwary just went down.
The Jenner 2C Starwolf heading over to get a cap on Kappa can still make a little bit of a difference here, potentially. But we'll have to see. Kodiak goes down, and the last one left is that Jenner. I'm thinking that this is going to go in favor of 42 unless Starwolf is able to pull out a miracle, but I don't see that happening. Even with 2 caps, it's going to take quite a bit.
It's going to take a lot, absolutely. There's just too many mechs left alive for 42 right now.
Yep, and they're going to run up on him. They're capping out Gamma. They don't even need to worry about Epsilon. All they need is to neutralize the points and then contain the Jenner and don't let him escape. And right here, Shadowcat and the Panther going to get up on him. If he can maybe take these guys out in quick succession without taking too much damage.
I don't think he's going to be able to do so.
He doesn't even see him coming. He doesn't even see him coming, but here he goes. Let's see if he can get the jump on him. They're already flipping Kappa back. So, long road for Star Wolf. I don't see him pulling it off, unfortunately. Damage is pretty substantial on the 42, but very good job by 42 rotating those mechs out and keeping them alive. Keeping all 8 of them alive. Even the Shadow Cat getting out by the skin of his teeth and surviving an additional volley at the end here. Good job by them. I mean, we're going to see it on the scoreboard. KCom did a lot of damage.
They did.
They
absolutely.
did a lot of damage, but it was rotated out and it was done to all of the mechs on the field. And that was just very well played by 42.
And that's what the best teams do, right? They break those locks, essentially. They pull the damaged mechs back and let the fresher mechs kind of expose themselves a little bit to take the fire, and then those damaged mechs are no longer the target that the enemy team's trying to engage, and it keeps them alive longer. It's a great thing to do, and the best teams in the game are capable of doing that. 42 is definitely a strong team.
8-0 in favor of 42. Now, I do want to stress, though, despite the scoreboard saying 8-0, it wasn't really that far off. Starwolf only pulling 4 damage? Is that correct? He fired at least like 3 alpha strikes at the end there, only connecting with 1 SRM.
Well, that's I guess so, yeah.
I guess I expected to see higher numbers from him. I'm not sure what happened there, but only pulling 4 damage for Starwolf.
And those 2 grasshoppers with the highest score on the team, both 400 damage, Unwary with the top 474 for KCom. Definitely a good performance by Unwary again, but just not enough to keep up with 42 with their Prometheus in the Timberwolf 500 damage, Logan All in the Kodiak 600 damage, almost 500 damage for the other Kodiak. Just too much damage on the field there.
And the Panthers doing a really good job, if not just putting out damage, just generally being a presence on the field.
Absolutely.
And being something that you have to worry about, you know. Those Panthers are agile, they have range, very good range, they can get out of the fight if need be, they have the jump jets at their disposal, and ultimately just putting the pressure where it needs to be. And I don't want to say that they necessarily were a huge contributor, but I'm sure that they made a difference there. You know, would another type of mech work better in that regards? For this kind of range deck, maybe not. I mean, they were landing their
for that
shots.
sort of engagement, they were ranged basically the entire match until the very end. If you can land your shots with the Panther, suddenly you've got incoming fire where you think you're safe, and then someone behind you is shooting you, or off to the side is shooting you. It makes you move. It makes you think. It distracts you. It's a good thing to do. I mean, having a ranged light mech isn't a bad thing if you're going to play a ranged game, and both teams did that.
Absolutely. So KCom seemed to, they had the cap points, but they never really truly, in my opinion, had map control. Just because you have half the map surrounded by your team, I don't feel like they were forcing 42 to do anything. 42 had control the entire time, and they chose to stay back. But I don't think they ever really felt threatened poking from the positions that they were in.
Absolutely not, yeah.
And so KCom, they were able to move up and they were able to get the 4 cap, but they took so much damage doing it and they didn't deal enough out that when 42 said, all right, enough of this 4 cap business, we're going to move up and clean house, they were able to do it pretty effectively without taking that much more. And ultimately, the trades is what won it for 42, and they did a very good job with the trades. Some of those situations where mechs were moving across the field and just taking a giant beating because 42 identified that a target was in the open, and they all aggressively peeked on that side at the same time, and you just see that Kodiak getting wailed on, just completely wailed on. Those are the key moments that essentially just strip the win away from you. Losing a Kodiak 3 in that big of a fashion is brutal, and the only way you can prevent something like that from happening is being together as a team while you're moving in that direction and returning that fire effectively, forcing 42 to stay down. And like I said, I don't think 42 ever really felt like they had to stay down. They had the map control, even though they conceded terrain. They were the ones dictating where people were going. Let's take a look at the map. So
Yeah, it definitely felt the whole time that KCom was reacting to what 42 was doing. Like you said, I think just because they had the cap points just meant that the engagement. Oh, I just drew a line. The
that's my line.
engagement
You just
was.
erased my line.
Did I line?
You
I thought I
erased
drew
my
that line. I wanted it to be my line.
So KCom immediate movement. They seem to like to go up into this corner, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessarily a bad corner. It gives them good vision, shooting through
And if you're playing
Epsilon.
range, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think that was necessarily a bad move at all. And they've done it a few times now, and they've done it effectively in the past. Going up and taking a look. Now we had like an alpha movement. I'd say, was it playing around the D3? I think actually, I want to say they actually went aggressively over to Charlie 2 cap control. In general though, they were off in this west side, and then their Charlie Lance moving up to pretty much trade with Delta 4. I mean, they had a very split deck. You know, they had this side of the map and they had this side of the map, and they had nothing in the middle. And KCom essentially moved up and eventually got up towards in the face of Theta and rolled the 4 cap. But you know, you eventually had just this movement, sweeping movement
Yeah.
for 42
Nice,
up the
nice,
left
good
side.
movement by 42 to respond to what the enemy team's doing and keep the pressure on them throughout the match.
Absolutely. So, just straight up reactionary, good initial position, holding the map down and then reacting to the other team's movement. And really, it just comes down to trading well. And like we were saying before, that does really, when you're in a trade war, it really does put a lot of emphasis on individual pilot skill and their
Yep.
ability to keep themselves safe, rotate out when they get too hurt, and continue to put out good damage, and realizing when you're trading poorly, picking a different position, and not getting into a situation where you're peeking against 3 or 4 guys and just getting wailed on. So that's just good all around trading right there, and this one did slip away from KCom, but I think KCom played pretty well. They just
Yeah, it never felt terribly one-sided
no, no.
in one way. It
And
just
that
never
8-0
felt
score
like,
does not reflect it at all. I
yeah,
mean, 8-0, but I still feel like that was closer than some of the 8-4 matches that we've seen, you know?
yeah,
So I do think KCOM played well. I think they just need to go back to analyzing the match and figuring out what they need to do to trade better and maybe come up with some counter movements besides just stabbing down the middle. You know, taking the 4 cap was good, but you did it with a bunch of 70% health mechs. Doesn't take much to spin that back the other way. So
yeah,
um,
absolutely.